Back in NFL history. Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams has retired from the NFL after 8 seasons. He ranks 10th on the Chargers franchise receiving yards list with 4,806. He's also 13th in receptions and touchdowns. NFL Players Association Executive Director Lloyd Howell Jr. resigned late Thursday night, ending an embattled 2-year tenure as the leader of the union. In May, it was revealed that the FBI is investigating the financial dealings of the NFLPA and the MLB Players Association related to a multi-billion-dollar group licensing firm, One Team Partners.
Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
This summer with Kohl's, you can rack up the compliments. Like, where'd you get that dress? Tell me all your makeup secrets. Or, ooh, my husband needs that polo in every color. Because Kohl's has what you need. Cute dresses, Sephora essentials, stylish polos, comfy kids clothes, and more. Plus, take 20% off some of your faves. Yep, cue the compliments with Kohl's. Select styles, some exclusions apply. Offer ends July 20th. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora. See store or Kohls.com for details.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce, spruce, spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
It's a sweet deal. All you gotta do is just listen and start winning. We can't make it any simpler. Yeah, we'd be lying if we told you we hadn't considered asking for a cut. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The only place in football where the offense is always on the field is on Moneyline. With the two best hosts in radio, Donnie Rightside.
If anybody wasn't watching, listen, I don't know what you were doing.
And Kevin Walsh.
Forget act like you've been there before.
On the SportsGrid Radio Network, SiriusXM Channel 159.
We did it, 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 people. It is a Friday, and it is a good Friday here in the sports landscape. I am sitting here watching live the British Open, or the Open Championship, as people like to say, Major League Baseball getting back started here for the unofficial start of the second half of the Major League Baseball season at 2:20 p.m., and it's time for Moneyline, the best hour of your day. It is officially underway. It's your boy, Donnie Rightside, here on a solo mission Friday to kick off those good vibes. And my goodness, am I feeling good about today? I am, because one of those weeks that we've talked about all year long is, boy, once we get to the summer, once we get here, and it's like, man, all-star break. Ooh, by the way, this week went fast. Anybody else have an issue with this week? Because granted, I'm in a different landscape where sometimes I'm just the entertainment to help you get through your day. And I love that. That's my job. But also my job is, man, there's a lot of interesting things going on in the sports world, which includes live games, live programming. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, well, Donnie had the All-Star game. He had Home Run Derby. Stop it. Donnie had the WNBA. Stop. Everything is back exactly where you want it to be now. A full slate of Major League Baseball, a golf championship and a major. Teams every single day. More and more people are doing what? Getting into football camp. Fantastic time right now. I love it. And it feels like we made it, and the energy when I woke up this morning just felt so right. Like, you know what? We're back in a good spot. You take a look from yesterday, which was Thursday. 2 weeks from yesterday, we're going to have a preseason football game on our television. That's fantastic stuff. That's what we love to see. But also, the hot topics didn't stop yesterday, which we're going to get to. But if you're watching the Open Championship right now from Royal Portrush, it is live. We have a tie at the top. Brian Harman and Hao Tung Lee, both 8 under. One golfer in Brian Harman, done for the day, shot a 65. Right now, Lee is 4 under par through 10 holes. He has a good chance to finish in the lead. Matt Fitzpatrick, 6 under in the tournament. 2 under today, but only through 4 holes. Guys are eating this golf course up today. Look at Scotty Scheffler, -4 for the tournament, -1 today, but only through 2 holes. Can he climb up and maybe claim a piece of that? Hey, man, we're leading after one market or leading after two market. Fun stuff to watch. The rain was coming down earlier. I'm looking right now at the Open, and it doesn't look like the rain is coming down because I don't see any of the players with the umbrellas out and or the caddies for them. So maybe a quick sprint, which again, softens up that golf course, maybe a little bit easier on the scoring conditions. We talked to Keith Stewart today on the early line, giving us some updates on some of these players and the expectations for what they should be. But Rory McIlroy finishes his day shooting an opening round 70, followed that up by a 69 today. Matthew Fitzpatrick right now putting at 6 under, it looks like, for par here. This is on, doesn't show what hole, but he missed it. So Fitzpatrick's going to drop back. This is the 5th hole. So he'll go from -6 to a -5 here once he completes that. Xander Schauffele on my TV screen, putting for par from about 5 feet away. And Schauffele, as he goes, drains it. All right. Like it. Like to watch golf. Like to watch the sporting events here. Fantastic stuff. Darren Filippi's out here in the chat box. Francisco Carrasco. Mikey B. And X-Man, of course. By the way, Mikey B says, Donnie, let's go. Phillies baseball is back, baby. Football getting cranked up. Let's go, brother. I'm feeling it. We're all feeling it. And you can feel the energy where it was, Sunday night. It's like, got to get ready. Got to get that game face on. As I called it, Hell Week. You got to make it through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And you have the absolute rainbow, the pot of gold, once we get there on Friday, which is exactly where we're at right now. So if you do want to get in the chat box, say hello, any comments you have, any plays that you have for today, follow us. SportsGrid On Demand, 3 words on YouTube. Find the live restream, get in here, say hello, but also to the people out there listening, SiriusXM channel 159. If you're watching through the SportsGrid app that we have, one of the best in the absolute business here. Thank you for doing that, sportsgridradio.com, and of course, SiriusXM channel 159. But there were a lot of things happening where you talk about, hey, Friday is payday, as I always like to use that moniker, or new week, new money. Well, that was certainly the sense here for the Pittsburgh Steelers and TJ Watt breaking the bank. A $123 million extension over 3 years, which sees $108 million guaranteed. Was anybody surprised to see that? I wasn't. Is anybody surprised that I can't believe he got that much money talking about TJ Watt? No, he's a sack artist. Outside of quarterback, people, what is the most important position in NFL? Lore, I guess? Yeah, we love wideouts. Yeah, we love left tackles. We love running backs. We love cornerbacks and safeties and linebackers. But edge rushing, dominant pass rushers is where it's at. And that's where the money comes from. And that's the money that you got. TJ Watt in camp, or should I say heading to camp now. I don't think Pittsburgh arrived here, at least the veterans just yet. No distractions. Aaron Rodgers, signed, sealed, and delivered. He will be there. TJ Watt, signed, sealed, delivered. He will be there. Trade completed. Big extension for DK Metcalf. He will be there, people. Minka Fitzpatrick on the way out. Ramsey comes in, and away we go. Good defense for the Steelers. But if we're looking at that signing, like, oh, that changes things for the Steelers. No, it doesn't. The expectations were always that TJ Watt was going to come back to the Pittsburgh Steelers and make a ton of money, and he certainly did that. Which then brings me to the next arena, where we get to rip a little bit on the Dallas Cowboys, and we love to do that. Why? Because for a businessman in Jerry Jones, who has the biggest maybe name in all of sports worldwide, the Dallas Cowboys, how sometimes they can be so stupid in the way they manage their salary cap. If you are smart with your salary cap, you can afford to pay more players. It just makes sense. Shrewd business decisions usually equal unbelievable success on the field. Now, you look at the Dallas Cowboys. Where has their unbelievable success been since 1995? It hasn't been anywhere. It hasn't equated into any Super Bowls, let alone even an NFC championship game appearance, because of things that are done a certain way. Dak Prescott, if you would have paid him 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when he was up and you were giving him franchise tags, you would have got a bargain deal on Dak Prescott compared to where the market is today. Second case here, you look at CeeDee Lamb. You waited a little bit on him. He now makes a ton of money, and deservedly so. Micah Parsons has been up for a contract extension for a year and a half. The longer you wait, the more you pay, the more you have to use of your salary cap. And that's why we just saw TJ Watt, 3 years, $123 million extension for a 30-year-old player. In his mid-20s is Micah Parsons. He's still waiting for his money. He's even voicing it now, going on podcasts saying, Stop messing me up. But that's what I guess the Dallas Cowboys like to do. It's not smart to reset the market at the worst possible moments that you can reset the market for your football team. And I say it time and time again. If you have a superstar football player that you have identified as a very good NFL player and partially a franchise cornerstone, sign him immediately, sign him right away. The sooner you do that, the more money you will save in the long term. The Dallas Cowboys haven't done that. And that's why Micah Parsons still sits out there as, when am I getting mine? Where every pass rusher in the sport, it feels like outside of Trey Hendrickson, who wants his money in Cincinnati, is getting re-upped, and for good reason. Just the way it is, man. It's just the way it's laid out. The Dallas Cowboys' business sense of how to run a business outside of the salary cap, 100% absolutely fantastic. The Dallas Cowboys trying to run a salary cap just hasn't worked out over the past couple years. Micah Parsons will get his, and the price of the brick is going up every single day on him. Unbelievable stuff. More hot topics and a full breakdown of the Major League Baseball card today right here on Moneyline.
Boys of summer have returned and taken the field for the great American pastime. You should monetize that. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Linzess. A federal judge in Texas removed a Biden-era finalized rule by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that would have removed medical debt from credit reports. U.S. District Court Judge Sean Jordan of Texas Eastern District found on Friday that the rule exceeded the CFPB's authority. Jordan said that the CFPB is not permitted to remove medical debt from credit reports according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which protects information collected by consumer reporting agencies. The FDA is allowing vaping brand Juul to keep its e-cigarettes on the market, providing relief to a company that has struggled for years after being widely blamed for sparking the teen vaping trend. FDA regulators said Thursday that Juul's studies show its e-cigarettes are less harmful for adult smokers who can benefit from switching completely to vaping. Juul will be one of only 2 U.S. companies authorized to sell menthol-flavored vapes, which many adults prefer to tobacco flavor. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing New Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals, and it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with New Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Progressive knows when you're on your boat, you're already on vacation. And Vacation You forgets all your worries. Vacation You doesn't even keep track of time and knows that time is a meaningless construct designed to control us, man. But Regular You knows you don't want to be too far out in the water after the sun goes down because Vacation You doesn't know how to navigate in the dark yet. Vacation You and Regular You really need to get on the same page. So bundle your boat with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Luck is a word losers use. If you think winning is only a matter of chance, you must be new here. We give you sports gaming strategies and information that changes outcomes others flip a coin over. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Are we watching that game today at 2:20 start between the Chicago Cubs? Or I should have said the Chicago Cubs game this afternoon against the Boston Red Sox. Are we watching that like it's, remember the first sporting event back since COVID? Like when football, like, oh man, it was like some low-level college football game. It might be the absolute biggest sporting event in the history of sports. Like that excited. Like that's the type of vibe I'm getting now with baseball coming back here to us on a Friday in a full slate, which we will get to and certainly break down some of the key elements. But understand this, from a baseball scenario, when you start to take a look at where you're going into the All-Star break and how tough sometimes that Sunday is, equally tough this weekend. Bullpens are rested, starting pitchers are rested, who stepped away from the game, whose timing is off. That certainly could rear its ugly head at this point. And also, we were talking about the Open Championship. Brian Harman, 8 under. Ho-Tong Lee, 8 under. Matthew Fitzpatrick at 6 under. Robert McIntyre, 5 under. Rasmus Højgaard, 5 under. Tyrell Hatton, 5 under. and Harris English 5 under. Those are the top 5 right there, ties and whatnot. We'll see how it finishes up today and how low these scores could actually go. Looking at the game live, or should I say the match live, looks like good weather conditions. I don't see the wind blowing all that much, and certainly no more rainy conditions, as everybody out there looks like they are in short sleeves, enjoying themselves and trying to go low as they can. Shout out once again to the chat box here on our YouTube channel and wherever you're listening out here. But understand this. The NBA is still in the offseason. The NBA moves are still being made. And one yesterday, which was puzzling. We had Brian Fonseca on this morning on the early line to talk about what the heck happened in this Damian Lillard deal, because we were under the belief that, okay, well, he got bought out for Milwaukee because he probably wasn't going to play this year. And Milwaukee bought him out and then stretched his money over the next couple of years to go out and to afford another player, which turned to be Miles Turner, to try to keep their superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo happy. Well, now the fallout was, well, what's Damian Lillard going to do? He's got paid out, so he's got a lot of money in his back pocket. He should be just fine. But also at the same time, it was like, well, he can rehab and he can do it wherever he wants. Of course, it would be paid for by the Milwaukee Bucks. If you want to do it in Portland, Miami, Los Angeles, they'd do it wherever he wanted to. But the thought was he'd probably go back to Portland, rehab, work out, be near his family and friends in a place that he was familiar with, and then decide maybe later in the year, if he's up to it, meaning that the Achilles injury has healed sufficiently, and he might be able to even dip back in for a playoff run to sort of sign a vet minimum for the remaining parts of the season and see what worked out. And then, if it did work out, be an open free agent and be able to sign with, I guess, whoever he wanted to sign with. But we got word yesterday, like, hey, he might be in talks or really likes Portland, and watch out, they could be a player for his services. So for me, when I say it's a player for your services, like, okay, well, maybe we'll file that one away in a couple months where maybe if he is feeling better and the prognosis is he can come back in March, April, May, whatever it is, on a playoff run for a team. Because we heard the Boston Celtics would have been interested in his services had he been able to come back for the playoffs, and maybe he could help them because Jason Tatum could back. He gets lightning in a bottle, right? But then within like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the announcement coming that maybe he'd be looking at Portland and a return wouldn't be so interesting or so like far-fetched, I should say, he signs a three-year deal with a no-trade clause to go back to Portland for like $44 million. I said to myself, like, that's really interesting from 2 points of it, where Damian Lillard apparently doesn't really care about winning a championship, and also the Portland Trailblazers are getting older by the day when you're just trying to restart. Like, it didn't work with Damian Lillard round number 1. It's not going to work in round number 2. We know that. But then also talking with Brian Fonseca earlier today, he was making some pretty good points saying, you know, this is a very tradable contract. So let's just say Dame can make it back by the end of the season for Portland, and let's just say they're not even in the playoffs. Well, that would leave what? I don't know, $30 million or so in Dame's contract where he's in his mid-30s and might be able to add something to another team and they'd be willing to trade for that contract. See where we're getting at that point? It's just interesting the way it went down, where I look at Damian Lillard and say to myself, like, oh, man, like, what can he add to a team like Portland? And also, what does he want to do with Portland, which is the question. I don't know if you have to ring chase, but some people just are built differently in the NBA. And LeBron James and that toxic ring culture that say, you know what, if I don't get 7 rings, I can never be as good as Michael Jordan. Like, where did we go where, like, the basketball path that it took you, even if you played on a bad basketball team and played a good basketball team, you should still get your respect, a la like a Charles Barkley. I didn't play on bad basketball teams in Philadelphia or Phoenix, or when he was older, certainly going to the Houston Rockets. But you get the point where he wanted a ring, didn't get one. It doesn't sully his career because his surrounding cast wasn't as good as he needed them to be. And maybe he just couldn't provide that oomph in the biggest moment when they took on Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls in the mid-1990s. And I think they lost that in 6 games. But when we take a look at Dame Lillard, like, wouldn't you want to say, I've made all the money I could possibly make, and I'm still going to make a little bit more. But I'm going to rehab, and I'm going to pick the best situation where I can play, and my team has a legitimate chance for a championship. That's not in Portland. And I don't think anybody's going to be able to argue with that. Not at all. So I thought it was, and again, it wasn't even like, hey, a 1-year deal, you're going to rehab and we'll see what happens at the end of the season. It's 3 years and a no trade clause. So even if it doesn't work out, like, hey, man, we're going to move you to Milwaukee again. Like, he wanted to go to Miami, but the better deal on the table was from Milwaukee. That's where he got moved. And he wasn't happy about going to Milwaukee. So now I feel like he goes back to Portland where he's comfortable. He's having some personal, I think getting a divorce. So not a good time, I guess, in his personal life. But at the same time, securing that bag, going back to Portland to rehab, and then maybe he can put his finger on the button on the no trade clause and says, I'm going to be able to pick where I want to go in a year and a half. Because what would the odds be, guys, on the odds market and says, will Dame play 3 full years with the Portland Trailblazers? That can't be it, right? That can't be. If Dame finished his career with Portland, what was the point of his career anyway? Just to make money? Which, hey, I don't sound like a hater, and I can't knock that. Like, you're going to make all the money that Dame meant and be still in a non-pressure cooker situation where he's not expected to do anything but just be a hometown hero, it feels like, in Portland, then so be it at that point. But I get around that return deal and I say sometimes the priorities are different from how I look at situations to the person in that situation. And we all understand. Dame Lillard wanted to go to Miami. He wanted to be in South Beach and got shipped to Siberia of the United States, which is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What is it, cold 11 months out of the year? And even Dame said it himself. This town is boring. I go to practice and I go home and play Xbox. And then I go to my game. That's it. Dame back in Portland is what it is. I got a question for the people out there. And it's about Rashee Rice and not about football. Come on back next. It's Moneyline on a Friday. We made it, baby. Friday.
SportsGrid. Stamping out the boredom in baseball year after year. We bring you all the angles, insights, and information you need. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1927, Ty Cobb gets hit number 4,000. Cobb holds a Major League Best 366 career average in his 24-year career. Cobb had over 200 hits in 9 seasons and held the all-time hits record with 4,189 until Pete Rose broke the mark in 1985. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
Until now, the only way to deal with pesky mosquitoes, the old-fashioned way. Now, if you dare, buy into a new Hong Kong-based Indiegogo project called Photon Matrix. A paperback-sized AI device uses LiDAR to invisibly scan for mosquitoes up to 20 feet away. And then high-powered lasers can vaporize up to 30 mosquitoes per second. One unfortunate problem, onboard sensors detecting humans in the kill zone means it won't fire. Otherwise, follow me at G Capalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
And I called the front desk. I said, I need to talk to a manager, someone in charge. They're like, what's the matter, sir? I said, nothing's the matter. She said, you're yelling. I said, I'm not yelling. You'll know when I yell. I said, I worked with this guy for 35 years. He's getting married today off-site at a golf course. I got to get him a bottle of champagne to his suite right now. I don't care what it costs.
It's Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Farrell. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. On the home of the winning edge, the SportsGrid Radio Network. Have you noticed how hard it is these days to find something to believe? Nonsense is everywhere. But at SportsGrid, we put our mouth where your money is. Because if we're ever wrong, you wouldn't win. Get it? This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Open Championship going on right now. If you look at the FanDuel Sportsbook, at least Scotty Scheffler, the favorite, even though he's not in the lead, at a plus 220 price. Matt Fitzpatrick at a plus 650 price. Brian Harmon, again, up there in the lead at a 7-1 price. Hao Tung Lee also up there at a 9-1 price. John Rahm, 11-1. And Rory McIlroy, the young favorite out there, at a 14-1 price in his hometown / country. We'll see how it plays out. Any big updates there from the Open? We'll certainly keep you involved right here on Moneyline. If anything changes, anybody takes over first place, drops out of first place, you know the deal will let that happen. But I was teasing before the break. And I asked this question to Ben on the early line this morning. If anybody's been following Rashee Rice, very talented wide receiver, got injured last year, but also has done some boneheaded things in his life, which includes speed racing around, I think it was Houston or Dallas. I don't remember the particulars. It looks like Dallas County, as I'm reading right now. A lot of damage done there, in trouble. He gets a 30-day jail sentence and 5 years probation. The reason I'm talking about that right now is not because of what Rashee Rice can do on the football field. And also understand this from a Chiefs angle. Now that legality is done and he has been, I guess, convicted, 30 days in jail, 5 years probation, he is going to be suspended by the NFL, which, again, the Chiefs, which I said this morning, could just pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what? We understand this is probably going to happen. Is there any way that you can, expedite this process so we know what we have to do salary cap-wise, player-wise, and how long he's going to be out and when he's going to be out, sort of to help us out? And maybe they do that, and typically they would look out for their franchise. Say, you know what? Let's see if we can get on top of this and let you know an answer sooner than later. But let's go, because we are still in a bye week of sports particularly, and they haven't started yet up with Major League Baseball. We'll get to that card. Don't you worry about it. I got some thoughts. I got some pitchers to fade and some spots that might go under today. But if you are Rashee Rice, and they told you have options here on your jail sentence, which I think he does, because otherwise he would just remanded right to jail. He's going to do 30 days, miss training camp, or miss the full month of September, not be able to work out. Usually they will work with you, which means I think he has the 5 years, as I was reading, to do the 30 days, which means it's almost like you do weekends. Like if you're in the Army Reserve, it's like, okay, you got to do a weekend a month or 6 weekends a year where you have to train and get caught up on all the latest stuff. But that's what you have to do. Like, okay, hon, I'm coming home from work on a Friday. I'll see you late on Sunday night when I get back home after this weekend here with the Army Reserve. Would you serve all 30 days at one time if you're Rashee Rice to get it out of the way? Or would you splice it together? Like, okay, well, football season's over. I'll do a weekend in February. I'll do a weekend in March. I'll do a weekend in April. I'll do a weekend in May. I'll do a weekend in June. And then I'll do the same thing next off season once we're there. I don't even what does that even, it's such an odd thing, because when usually you don't get that chance to do it. Now, I understand there's work release stuff where it's okay, I got to go to jail at night and check in, but I get to work during the day, at my job. And then instead of going home, I go back to jail. There are options. I've heard of that in the past. But how would you do that? Would you just say to yourself, I'm going to do it all at one time? Nobody ever wants to go to jail any way, shape, or form. Or would it just be hey, I don't know, Friday night at 8 o'clock, I show up at jail, and then I stay in until Sunday at 8 p.m. and they let me go, and that was the weekend. That counts for 2 days. And what do you do? Are you in the same areas as petty crime or capital murder? You get the same jail cell? They save it for you in a different jail cell every time you go back? But I got to be honest. And I preface it by saying, nobody wants to go to jail. But I might just say, I got to do this all 30 days at once. Just get it out of the way. I'll read some books. I'll work out. Hopefully it's not too bad of a situation. But where would you go on that? Honestly. For me, I would rather just get it out of the way. Hey, you could do a weekend, or I'm going to do 4 days here, 3 days here. And what is the schedule? They allow you to do that? You just call the warden up. Hey, warden, I got a bet for me on Wednesday night. I'm going to punch one of these days in. I know I got 23 days to go. Let me get one more out of the way, and I'll come there Friday night at 8. You let me out Saturday at 8 o'clock. It's just it's an oddity as well. Either you're doing the time or not, but imagine it being flexible where you can just show up on the weekends for 6 months and maybe knock that out, or the weekends for 6 months and then play your football season, and then the weekends for another 6 months on top of that. Interesting stuff here. We'll talk a little bit about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA All-Star Game, but we got to get to Major League Baseball. It's back in our lives. We need a recap, and we need to look forward and handicap some of those games. It's your boy DRS right here on Moneyline.
If you ever hear a Taylor Swift song here, something has gone horribly wrong. We only give you sports gaming strategies and information you need. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
NFL Players Association Executive Director Lloyd Howell Jr. resigned late Thursday night, ending an embattled 2-year tenure as the leader of the union. In May, it was revealed that the FBI is investigating the financial dealings of the NFLPA and the MLB Players Association related to a multi-billion-dollar group licensing firm, One Team Partners. NBA free agency Damian Lillard has reached a deal to return to the Portland Trail Blazers. He's a 9-time NBA All-Star. It's a 3-year deal worth $42 million. The Steelers have signed T.J. Watt to a 3-year, $123 million contract extension that makes him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. NBA free agency Damian Lillard has reached a deal to return to the Portland Trail Blazers. He's a 9-time NBA All-Star. It's a 3-year deal worth $42 million.
Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
This summer with Kohl's, you can rack up the compliments like, where'd you get that dress? Tell me all your makeup secrets. Or, ooh, my husband needs that polo in every color. Because Kohl's has what you need. Cute dresses, Sephora essentials, stylish polos, comfy kids clothes, and more. Plus, take 20% off some of your faves. Yep, cue the compliments with Kohl's. Select styles, some exclusions apply. Offer ends July 20th. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora. See store or Kohls.com for details.
All right, Takis fans. Wendy's knows you love your Takis Fuego chips. So we thought, why not make a Takis Fuego meal with a Takis Fuego chicken sandwich with spicy chicken topped with crushed Takis Fuego chips and creamy corn spread. Plus, it comes with Fuego fries inspired by Takis and a bag of Takis Fuego chips. If we had any more heat, we might start an actual... I told him this would happen. For an intense new take on Takis chips, gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Includes 1-ounce Takis Fuego chips while supplies last. Takis and Fuego trademarks are used under license.
Let's keep it real. Baseball can be boring. That's where SportsGrid comes in. Nothing livens up those 9 innings like sports gaming. You might experience something you've never felt in a baseball game, a quickened pulse. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
WNBA All-Star Weekend is this weekend, guys. Excited for that? Well, Caitlin Clark will not be participating in that. Why? She does have a groin injury. Sent out that message yesterday from her and her team. Not going to participate in this weekend's festivities, which includes the 3-point competition and or skills competition or the game itself. That game is home in Indiana. Would have been a nice bananas atmosphere if she was playing in that, but she is not. I'm sure the ratings certainly are going to take a hit, but rightfully so. She has to get herself right to go down the backstretch of that WNBA season. Maybe make a run at a WNBA title, but the game is better when Caitlin Clark is healthy. She is not healthy right now, so head back, get that rest. It's a shame it came at the absolute worst time because she could have just competed all weekend long and it would have been fun. The ratings would have been there and, sort of a non-confrontational game where everybody's just going to show their skill sets. It would have been fun to watch here for them, but that's not going to happen in the WNBA. Hopefully she's back sooner than later, but with those soft tissue injuries, they sometimes can linger. From a quad to a hamstring to a calf to a groin, whatever it might be, you need to just take that time off and absolutely just get right. All right, Major League Baseball, guys. It's finally back. A 2:20 start today. We get it rolling with Chicago and Boston. We'll get to that in a few moments. We did a pretty good job this week on the early line. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and some today as well. Setting the stage for what we think is going to happen in the second half of the Major League Baseball season. Because it is a sprint. Usually you hear like the All-Star game, it's the halfway point. We're well past the halfway point. Like if I just add up, and let's just go with the Toronto Blue Jays, 55-41, that's 96 games, minus 162. So they have 66 games left on the schedule. So well past the halfway point. Now in the AL East, Toronto, New York, Boston, and Tampa are the teams that are in it. The Baltimore Orioles, who knows what they're doing? They're probably going to be sellers. They're out of it. I don't care if they played a little bit better baseball over the last 3 weeks. They're not a good baseball team. The Rays take what you get. We didn't have too high expectations at the beginning of the season, and now we see what we have. The Boston Red Sox won 10 straight games here heading into the All-Star break. The hottest team in Major League Baseball post-All-Star break, they get it started in Chicago. New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays. If you said, Donnie, who's going to win that division right now? I still would go with the Yankees. 2 games back of the Toronto Blue Jays. I know the Blue Jays are hot, or were hot heading into the break, lost their last 2 before the break, but still, a really good surge to get them into first place. I just think the Yankees will make quality moves here and have the better overall team from a pitching staff selection as opposed to the Blue Jays. I give them the nod. Quickly look at the Central Division. Tigers, Twins, Royals, Guardians, and White Sox. There's only one playoff team from that division, and that is going to be the Detroit Tigers, as they have an 11.5 advantage over the Minnesota Twins in a lead. And the Twins are a couple games under 500. Same thing with the Royals, Guardians, and certainly the White Sox are terrible. So at this point, the Tigers will win. Twins, Royals, Guardians, White Sox might be sellers here at the deadline. AL West, the Houston Astros, 5-game lead over the Mariners. I think the Astros win that division. I do. I like the Mariners, but it just feels like the Mariners are going to always Marin, if that makes sense. The Astros are going to get Yordan Alvarez back sooner than later. Christian Javier is a very good number 3 pitcher. He'll be back sooner than later. They're the best team in that division. The one team I do want to watch, though, is the Texas Rangers if they can get it together. 1 game under 500. Can they get a sprint over the next week and a half to sort of gain ground on the Astros and show their organization, from general manager perspective and on down, that they deserve to get some extra help in that room, one to keep an eye on. But simple to me, Yankees, Tigers, Astros win those 3 divisions in the American League. In the National League, Phillies, Mets, Marlins, Braves, and Nationals. Obviously, the Nationals are done. You know what's interesting here? Because we'll talk Phillies, Mets in a moment. The Atlanta Braves are 12.5 games back. Spencer Strider's on the mound today going up against the New York Yankees. It just feels like the Braves are in a holding pattern over the next week that says, we, as the Braves, are 12.5 games back in the NL. If we can make this 9.5 by the trade deadline at the end of the month, which will give us 2 full months to try to work our way up the standings, maybe get healthier, but more importantly, hang around the wild card standings, maybe we'll give you some help. But I can tell this right now, you're not getting any help if you're talking from a Braves perspective, if they're 12.5 games out today and 14.5 games out by we talk next Wednesday, getting closer to the deadline. That's out at that point. Phillies and the Mets will bounce back and forth. They just will. Both teams talented here. I give the edge to the Philadelphia Phillies as only a half-game lead here over the final 60-plus games because the Phillies have the better front end of the rotation. Minaya is back in the lineup today for the Mets, trying to work his way back in. We'll see what he does a little bit later today against Nick Lodolo. The Marlins, fun team. You might be able to bet them here scoring some runs, but outside of that, we're certainly not giving any credence. But I do pick the Philadelphia Phillies to win the division just on the strength of the overall pitching staff. Now let's get to the NL Central. Cubs, Brewers, Cardinals, Reds, and Pirates. Pirates are done. We know that. The Cincinnati Reds are a fun team. They're not going to win anything. The St. Louis Cardinals are overachieving right now. I don't think they're going to be there in the end, and I think they'll fall back. But the Cubs and the Brewers with 1 game of each other, with the Cubs in first place currently right now. You look at the runs scored on the season, 512 here for the Cubbies, by far the widest margin in that division. The run differential for the Cubbies here, a plus 119 on the season. 81 is a plus number here for the Milwaukee Brewers. So you see the difference in that. But 7 winners in a row for the Milwaukee Brewers heading into the All-Star break, that helps. Now, the Brewers are going to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers today. We'll get that game in just a few moments. But for me, I look at this and say, I still think it's the Cubs. The pedigree is there for the Cubs. Do I love the pitchers? No, I don't. But it's also up to the Cubs front office and general manager to maybe pick up an extra pitching arm. But I do think the Cubs end up winning that division. We get to the NL West, Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Diamondbacks, and the Rockies. For me, it's always going to be the Dodgers, and the same thing for everybody else. They're priced so out of whack, but it doesn't matter. They have a 5.5 game lead. They're not giving that up in the second half. But a team to watch that I repeatedly put my eyes on are the San Diego Padres. If I can get them with one more bat, and I can get Michael King back in that starting rotation, and I can get Dylan Cease being back to the Dylan Cease I know he can be, why can't that team make a playoff run? Why can't that team challenge once they get to the playoffs? And I think they will. But simple for me is we're the headhunters, right? Dodgers to win the division, Cubs to win the division, Phillies to win the division, Astros, Tigers, and then just a couple games back to the New York Yankees, I think, get that done over the Toronto Blue Jays. Long second half, 60-plus game sprint, as we like to say. Trade deadline coming up at the end of the month, and then away we go with the winners and losers in the month of August, where teams trying to win baseball games and teams trying to worry about next season, where their draft is going to be, and also more importantly, are some of these young pitchers can work out in your favor. Now, if we are taking a look at the baseball statistics for today and how it lines up, you would be surprised at some of the pitching names that I'm going to read to you to start. Brandon Walter, the Houston Astros, has the best xFIP minus over the past 60 days on this card today. He's got an ERA of close to 4, but an xFIP of 2.91. I was talking to Ben this morning when we were breaking down the Houston Astros taking on Seattle, And it's like, wow, this guy doesn't walk guys. I think 165 batters he's faced, I think he's walked 2 guys so far in the season. Just 2 guys, which is really important because if you're not getting free bases, you better be getting base hits. And if you're not stringing together base hits, you're not scoring runs. So that's a guy that's interesting that you would think that, hey, wouldn't it be Max Fried up there? But I don't think Max Fried is actually starting today, even though he's listed on my card. I think it's still undecided for the New York Yankees going up against Spencer Strider today for the Atlanta Braves. Other good pitchers there. Jesus Luzardo of the Philadelphia Phillies. Look at his ERA, 6.44 down. That's got to be kidding me. What do you mean that guy's good? His xFIP minus number is 76. His xFIP is 3.08. Like when he's on, he's really on. When he's off, he's off. That's the tough part about starting the second half of the Major League Baseball season. Guys have disconnected for about 4 to 5 days. Now they're expected to be on. But also at the same time, typically when you get into the summer months, your starting pitchers start to wear down just a little bit. Now they've got extra time to prepare, extra time to recuperate with that break. You also have the bullpen, which typically by midsummer, they are exhausted and they are gassed. They've had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to take off. So you have every single pitcher on deck that you need for tonight. That typically is good when you're trying to hunt down an under, if you like that. Not typically good if you're trying to get a total to the over. By the way, if 8.5 was the run on that Atlanta Braves game for the total, if Max Fried doesn't pitch, I need to see who's pitching in that game. Because I think Strider is going to do a good job. And boy, if Max Fried was back in Atlanta pitching today, which he isn't, I see him listed on MLB.com as the starter for tomorrow. I need to see what that Yankees lineup is. We're going to go over some fade pitchers coming up shortly as well. Moneyline, it's a Friday. Friday is payday.
This is sports gaming information you can use. Expert analysis on odds, insights, and strategies you can literally take to the bank. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
The Steelers have signed T.J. Watt to a 3-year, $123 million contract extension that makes him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams has retired from the NFL after 8 seasons. He ranks 10th on the Chargers franchise receiving yards list with 4,806. He's also 13th in receptions and touchdowns. NFL Players Association Executive Director Lloyd Howell Jr. resigned late Thursday night, ending an embattled 2-year tenure as the leader of the union. In May, it was revealed that the FBI is investigating the financial dealings of the NFLPA and the MLB Players Association related to a multi-billion-dollar group licensing firm, One Team Partners. NBA free agency Damian Lillard has reached a deal to return to the Portland Trail Blazers. He's a 9-time NBA All-Star. It's a 3-year deal worth $42 million.
Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
What's on your summer wish list? More beach days? Endless pool parties? No matter how you're soaking up the sun, Macy's Summer Favorite Sale has top designer looks for less. Swimming cover-ups from Anne Cole, LeBlanca, and more, 40% off. For the guys, new trunks from Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, and lots of others, 50% off. Plus, get half off kids' swim shorts and tees, too. Get ready for summer fun. Hurry into our Summer Favorite Sale, happening now at Macy's. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So, I was taking my side hustle full-time.
Bold move, my friend.
And I needed to find everything in one stop.
Like finding Bigfoot riding a unicorn.
Yeah, so I hit the Staples Easy button. Staples had everything for a new office and print services for signs and brochures. Plus, Cindy, the Staples associate, helped me find the best tech for me.
Wait, no drama?
No, Staples made it easy.
For the products, services, and experts your business needs. Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app.
Ah, springtime. When a young man's fancy turns to...
Get your mind out of the gutter.
For sports gaming strategies and information that gives you an unfair advantage, you'll find it all right here.
It's the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Run that Major League Baseball card down today. Pitcher that you want to fade probably today, Bailey Falter. How about that? How about J.P. Sears? How about Jonathan Cannon? Colin Ray? Justin Verlander, Chris Paddock, Kyle Freeland, and Sandy Alcantara. How about them, just to name a few? But we do have an afternoon game that is coming up shortly. The hottest team in baseball, at least leading into the All-Star break, was the Boston Red Sox. Winners of 10 games in a row, taking on the Chicago Cubs. Lucas Giolito will be on the mound, and Lucas Giolito's last 60 days have gone pretty well. A 91 xFIP minus, a 1.90 xFIP number, 1.90 ERA number, and a 3.74 xFIP. If you look at the lineup today for the Cubs, right? Bush, Tucker, Suzuki, Armstrong, Kelly, and Happ. And let me hit the reset button because I know that roster was released just a short while ago. And it is, so we got the updated numbers. Let me just adjust it to the last month. And if we're looking at Lucas Giolito, 101 batters he's faced over the past month. ISO power number 086. Weighted on base percentage 226 against. Lefties and righties not getting the job done against them. Certainly easy. And that's why I just told you his statistics over the past 60 days really match up. Here's the interesting part. He is a strikeout pitcher, just not so much to right-handed batters, more to lefties. Now, you do have a lot of lefties in the lineup today for the Cubs. Bush, Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong, Ian Happ. Anybody else on there? No. So it looks like 4. So 5 will be batting from the right-hand side. 4 will be from the left-hand side, which he dominates there. Ground ball pitcher, he is not. And fly ball pitcher, typically at Wrigley, does get banged up a bit. But here's what I like about that Cubs lineup. Only one player, and that's Seiya Suzuki, who has over a 20% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching over the past month. Everybody else is putting the ball in play, and you have to love that. Let's go over to the other side. Colin Ray, who I'm not really high on today. Last 60 days, a 117 xFIP minus, an ERA of close to 5, and an xFIP of 4.73. You look at the lineup today for the Boston Red Sox. Duran, Anthony, Abreu, Story, Meyer, Rafaela, all high weighted on base percentages, ISO power numbers, give or take. We look at Colin Ray's last 30 days. ISO to lefties, a 349 against. Weighted on base to lefties, a 4.15. So if I look at the lefties in the lineup today, that's Duran, that's Anthony, that's Abreu, that's Meyer. That's 4 of them. And 5, Abraham Toro, who doesn't have any good statistics against right-handed pitching. Temperatures today, 77 degrees with about a 7-mile-an-hour wind blowing in. Francisco Carrasco says Cubs money line and some RBI props. Barry Roselle checking in. What's good, brother? Francisco Carrasco getting some numbers there. Padres over-under is 87.5. I think they hit the over. I do like the Padres. But I got to tell you today, like thought process around. And then be judicious this weekend, if I can use that word. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, players starting to get back into the fold. Also understand this. You're getting the best of the bullpens and the best of the starting pitchers. Everybody is rested, and that's usually an advantage. Where do you take apart some of these guys? When they're not rested, when they haven't had a break in a couple months. You'll get that back, the dog days of summer, which are upon us, late July, into August, into mid-August, into late August, where some of those bullpens get worn down again, teams not really looking to win. But today, I got to tell you, it feels like a plus money day overall. So I know Francisco's out here saying, Cubs money line. You could be correct on that. But I just look and say to myself, I got a team that's won 10 straight games. I understand. No, they could have lost 4 in a row. Yeah, they could have. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but nobody played. How much of that momentum is carrying in after that all-star break that we have? But I do see the price points out here, right? Plus 116, plus 118, plus 120, plus 124 on the Boston Red Sox. Like, that's the way that I like to lean. I know the Cubs are a good ball club. So are the Boston Red Sox. And it's almost like today I'm saying, if I have 2 teams that don't have a great handicap against either one, and if I think I do have the better pitcher on one side, I'm going to lean on the Boston Red Sox in this point as a dog price at, let's just call it a plus 120. Now, a game that we might be interested in tonight, 2 bad baseball teams. Cannon's going up against Falter. That's the Chicago White Sox and the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's a 640 start tonight. Look at the favorite here for Pittsburgh. Open up around a minus 180 price. That's backtracking at most places. FanDuel 158, DraftKings 164, BetMGM 170, Bet365 at 160, and the Westgate out in Vegas at a minus 155. If we look at Cannon on the mound today, he's 24th out of 27 pitchers at a 121 xFIP minus over the past 60 days and a 6 ERA coupled with close to a 5 xFIP number. That's really bad. Now, he also is going up against a pitcher that I do think can be faded. It's Bailey Falter. I just told you Cannon was 24th out of 27 on pitchers today analytically. How about Bailey Falter, guys? 26th out of 27. His last 60 days, an xFIP of 123, an ERA that is much lower, 3.58, but an xFIP number at 4.99, all danger territory. Now, if we look at the players themselves, sometimes you say to yourself, boy, I wish these 2 pitchers were going up against 2 different teams that could be able to absolutely crack the bat. They don't do that. But Jonathan Cannon gets crushed by lefties. Horowitz is a lefty. Reynolds is a lefty. O'Neal Cruz is a lefty. Sawinski is a lefty. So at least you got 4 of them. But if we're just looking at right-handed pitching, by the way, baseball teams are supposed to crush right-handed pitching. Look at the past 30 days for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Nick Gonzalez is at .320 weighted on base percentage. That's the highest of it. That's the height of it. Everybody else stinks. Like, you want to jump on Jonathan Cannon and look at the temperatures. Like Pittsburgh, PNC Park. That's a pitcher's ballpark. But today we're getting 78 degrees with a light wind blowing out to left. It's a perfect environment. But is it one of those where you just look at the Pittsburgh lineup and go, I don't care, Jonathan Cannon stinks. I'm just going to take it that direction. Now flip over the other side. Bailey Falter, I just thought left-handed pitcher. He stinks. And he stinks out loud against right-handed batters. Talkman and Montgomery are lefties. The rest of the 7 batters will be righties today. Falter is really struggling. Slater's got good numbers. Cato's got good numbers. Luis Roberts got good numbers. Even Michael A. Taylor has good numbers. He never has good numbers against anybody. But I look at that number and say to myself, all right, 8.5s across the board. 2 bad pitchers. Start of the second half of the season. Like, I do want to take 9 runs. But aren't these the games that we look at like, Donnie, you just took 9 runs to cash in a ticket with the White Sox in Pittsburgh? It's 1-1 as we enter into the bottom of the 8th, and you're praying for extras where somebody goes absolutely bananas? But if you just stick to the numbers where the pitchers aren't that good, the hitters should hit. But then were the hitters in the cages before? I mean, they're going to get a little pregame work, don't get me wrong. It just feels like you should be betting that over in the White Sox-Pirates game. It's like, ugh, look at those 2 lineups. It's your boy DRS. One more segment to go before we close down the week on Moneyline.
We don't care what your high school girlfriend told you. You are a winner. Or at least you will be if you keep it here. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime. On the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
For anyone who's worried about back taxes, has not filed tax returns, and doesn't know what to do next, stop and listen. Not filing your taxes can have severe consequences, especially in this political climate. Now that COVID is over, the IRS is getting aggressive, massively increasing enforcement and collection efforts. With politicians making all sorts of promises, especially when it comes to taxes, hiding and not dealing with your taxes will cause you harsh legal and financial ramifications. But right now, the IRS offers forgiveness and writes off a massive amount of tax debt. The Tax Doctor offers a free service that helps people get out of IRS collections and back in good standing with the government. Don't hide or bury your head in the sand. Take advantage of our free service. Call now to learn more. 800-816-4492. 800-816-4492. 800-816-4492. That's 800-816-4492.
Carver and Lisi.
New York Jets 2-1 to make the playoffs. Bye.
Joe, I know you like the I said it. Let me just tell you something. You're going to wish you didn't do all those. Back in that Jet team, that is not a way to get ahead in life. Patrick Mahomes could be the quarterback of the Jets and you sell them. You always sell the Jets.
It's Carver and Lisi with Mike Carver and Joe Lisi. Weekdays 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to SportsGrid, doing our part to spread the winning edge nationwide. Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and our mobile app. Face it, you're one of us. One of us. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The Open Championship, giving you guys an update. We have a new leader. That's Hao Tung Lee. -9. He's 5 under on the course today through 13 holes. Just taking over that leader spot from Brian Harman, who's finished up with a 65. He's 8 under par. Matthew Fitzpatrick is 7 under par, but right behind him, here he comes. That's Scotty Scheffler. 6 under par through the tournament, 3 under through 6 holes. Is there a chance that Scotty Scheffler could be in the lead at the Open by the end of today on another absolute surgical round? -3 yesterday. He's already -3 today. But it looks like Haotong Li just bogeyed a hole. Drops back to 8 under par with Brian Harman. So maybe a door is starting to crack right now. You got to figure. Scotty Scheffler shoots 6 holes. He's 6 under. He's got to get to 8 under, no? It just feels that way. It really does. All right, back to the Major League Baseball card. We're talking about Boston and Chicago, the Cubs, and then the Chicago White Sox and the Pittsburgh Pirates. If I could just scroll down, because there are some things that we don't know who's going to pitch just yet for the New York Yankees. I did like that under if it was Fried and Strider. Might change my opinion if obviously Fried's not the pitcher, which I think is going tomorrow, and who that will be. But there are some ones where, like, we're taking a look at dogs. Milwaukee and Los Angeles. Priester's been a decent pitcher so far here for the first part of the season. Glass now trying to work his way back. You're getting close to a 160 price at some outlets, even 168 out there at Westgate in Vegas for the Milwaukee Brewers. I think that might be worth a slice there. I do. I didn't really handicap yet the Minnesota Twins taking on Colorado with Freeland and Paddock, but that line is 11, which that's all you need to know in Coors Field today. Weather, 83 degrees at first pitch, light winds blowing in. Actually looks like the game starts with about 9 mile an hour blowing in, and then it slowly dissipates throughout the game. Again, Milwaukee, Los Angeles, I would take the dog price there. I would take the dog price in Boston coming up here. Probably just taking a fade of the 2 pitchers between the White Sox and the Pirates at that 8.5. Bassett and Verlander, I think there's a chance we get runs in that over 8.5. Might do some damage because Toronto's been so good. But again, I always say this, take this with a grain of salt. Like, I don't know how much runs we're getting today because I don't know the expectations of the players themselves. And they didn't just fall off a map like they can't play baseball anymore. But you go on vacation and come back your first day back at work. Sometimes it ain't the best day of work that you're going to have. Lodolo and Minaya, 8 turned into 7.5 on the totals. If you can still get 8s out there with Bet365 has, I don't know if we get 9 runs in that game. Told you a fadeable pitcher there is J.P. Sears. But then again, you're going up against Cleveland, who hasn't really done much hitting at all. Alcantara going up against Kansas City. Kansas City's going to front it with Lugo. That's a 7.5 total and a line of around a -122. Bailey and Morton, which is one I haven't really looked at here. Charlie Morton is 6th over the past 60 days on my card with an 87 xFIP minus and a 2.76 ERA. And if we take a look at Taj Bradley, not too far behind, he's got a 93 xFIP minus. So we always love those hitting conditions in Tampa. But you got 2 decent pitchers on the mound. Olsen and Corbin today. That's Detroit and Texas. We'll see how that one plays out. Palante and Fawett. That's the St. Louis Cardinals and the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's about a -130 price as a favorite towards Arizona. I look at that game and say, Palante's decent. Fawett had a good start last time out. Maybe the bats are a little bit slow. We don't get the 10 runs since that's listed at 9. But the Angels taking on the Philadelphia Phillies today. The Phillies are a heavy favorite across the market. Some places as high as -225. The total in that game opened up at 8.5. Soriano hasn't been as good lately as he was to start the season. But it just doesn't game just scream like 2-1. Like the one thing that we know about is sometimes you can get Jesus Luzardo, on a bad run. Like he's had a dominant, few parts of this season, but his last couple weeks have left a lot to be desired. Really good start one time, 3 bad starts before that, and you take what you get. I don't know if the Phillies and the Angels actually get to that 8.5 number. But if we're just using a premise for today, yeah, we're going to bet. We'll probably have some good stuff. I like to put it out to the people. Follow me at Rightside VP. If I have anything worthwhile, we'll certainly share that. But you can't really go all in on the first day back, the same way you can't do that on last Sunday. We had a very good end to the Major League Baseball unofficial first half last week by hitting a lot of plays there up on a day-to-day basis. I hope that continues today, but sometimes it's just about waiting till the really bad pitchers take the mound. There are some bad ones on the mound today, but also the matchups where that pitcher might be able to do a little business, maybe comes into play. So there you have it. Major League Baseball's back. Your hell week is over, people. Baseball's back in our lives. NFL training camp's underway. We did it. We made it. That's what we do on Moneyline. Thanks for tuning in today. For Chris, behind the wheels of steel, I'm your boy, Donnie Rightside. We'll see you again on Moneyline on Monday.
life worth living. Actionable insights, analysis, odds, and expert perspective on sports gaming. If we do say so ourselves, this is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Deal worth $42 million. The Steelers have signed T.J. Watt to a 3-year, $123 million contract extension that makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. NBA free agency, Damian Lillard has reached a deal to return to the Portland Trailblazers. He's a 9-time NBA All-Star. It's a 3-year deal worth $42 million.
Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
This summer with Kohl's, you can rack up the compliments like, where'd you get that dress? Tell me all your makeup secrets. Or, ooh, my husband needs that polo in every color. Because Kohl's has what you need. Cute dresses, Sephora essentials, stylish polos, comfy kids clothes, and more. Plus, take 20% off some of your faves. Yep, cue the compliments with Kohl's. Select styles, some exclusions apply. Offer ends July 20th. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora. See store or Kohls.com for details.
All right, Takis fans. Wendy's knows you love your Takis Fuego chips. So we thought, why not make a Takis Fuego meal with a Takis Fuego chicken sandwich with spicy chicken topped with crushed Takis Fuego chips and creamy corn spread. Plus, it comes with Fuego fries inspired by Takis and a bag of Takis Fuego chips. If we had any more heat, we might start an actual... I told him this would happen. For an intense new take on Takis chips, gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's includes 1 ounce Takis Fuego chips while supplies last. Takis and Fuego trademarks are used under license.
If you want to be an alpha, you've got to get the winning edge. It's kind of a necessary ingredient if you want to lead the pack. So mark your territory with the winning edge. You're in the big leagues. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on FFC. That's Football Full Circle. It is a Football Friday entering a weekend. It's all across the SportsGrid Radio Network and Sirius XM Channel 159. He is Joe Lisi, the mastermind of the Pigskin, and I am Ben Stevens. Lisi got a jam-packed Friday for us up until 1 p.m. Eastern. It still might seem like the summer or the off-season, but this is the final weekend without all 32 NFL teams reporting to training camp, because by this time next week, all 32 clubs will be in camp. By this time in 2 weeks, we will have already seen our first NFL preseason game of the year, the Hall of Fame game 2 weeks from yesterday in Canton, Ohio, between the Lions and the Chargers. LA's veterans already in training camp, and the Lions veterans will join starting tomorrow afternoon. So, Lisi guy, football is near, and when football is near, the news and notes pick up as well. There is plenty to break down in terms of contract conversations, big paydays, and some paydays that we expect soon, or maybe we won't see them at all. A lot to break down on FFC here in the next hour.
Absolutely. And we talk about the calm before the storm, Ben. This is it as it relates to the NFL and, more importantly, our baby in terms of college football. This is very exciting. We're a month out from the start of the college season. You talk about July 31st with the Hall of Fame game. You mentioned potential signings as it relates to respective ball clubs, right, and NFL teams. If some of those players like T.J. Watt and potentially Terry McLaurin and even Hendrickson are not with their clubs this season or hold out for any period of time, it can affect the performance in terms of the win total as it relates to playoff performance odds and everything that we bet in the offseason. So this is a very important time to get these players signed for the teams that we mentioned. And for others, it's to see how these rookies perform in game action. You know, we're not going to see Jared Goff. We're not going to see Justin Herbert, but the backups and a player that we've seen, Hendon Hooker for Tennessee back in the day, first NFL action that he'll get in almost 2 years.
Lisi guy, why don't you hit a refresh for us on your screen right there? We can hear you. There we go. He's back. Look at him like he never left here on this Friday. And Lisi guy, it's really important what you just mentioned, because as we approach a season, as we approach training camp, there are more and more details starting to come out this week. It is still summer break. It is still the offseason in large part around the National Football League, but so many things have happened in the last 48 to 72 hours, and a lot of it is incredibly impactful, including, Joe, yesterday. We mentioned it on the show. We had started to see some contract extensions and new deals be reached this week. Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner with the New York Jets, Trey Smith with the Kansas City Chiefs. We had talked about a couple of contract disputes. Still Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart in Cincinnati. Terry McLaurin looking for a new deal in Washington. And we noted TJ Watt. With the Steelers showing up to camp next week in Latrobe, would this deal get done for the face of the franchise in the Steel City? And yesterday, Joe, we got our resounding and very rich answer, that being yes. TJ Watt signs a 3-year, $123 million deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is an average of $41 million per season. TJ Watt now becomes, for the second time in his distinguished NFL career, the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. He moves past two guys, Jamar Chase and Myles Garrett, that each held that distinction at certain points earlier this offseason. TJ Watt, he's happy, Joe. He's the face of the franchise in the Steel City, and he got the biggest payday we have ever seen from a non-QB in NFL history ever.
And deserving of that, and you can make the argument that maybe he tailed off at the end of the regular season, entering the playoffs. But when you think about success about the Pittsburgh Steelers and think about what TJ Watt has meant to the team as a leadership perspective, you want him in there. 3 years, $123 million. We talked about it yesterday with Aaron Rodgers in the building. You want to make sure you have one of the mainstays and consistent performers of that unit in the locker room. This team is really on the fringe of either a great season or a season potentially going completely off the rails, the way the New York Jets did in the middle of the regular season after they lost to the Minnesota Vikings. So it's very important for Mike Tomlin to have these players in the locker room perform at an elite level, and they have to challenge the better teams in the conference or in the NFL. Baltimore has the best number. Kansas City is right there. Buffalo with Josh Allen, young talent that's looking to compete for a Super Bowl championship. And let's not forget Philadelphia, their in-state potential rival, right? In the NFC, they're not going anywhere. So TJ Watt is an important piece to that puzzle if the Steelers are going to have success in 2025.
No doubt about it, Joe, right? We have talked about it so many times. The Pittsburgh Steelers have done a lot with less at the quarterback spot, really in the final 2 years of the Ben Roethlisberger era or 2022 and beyond. They've been a playoff team with Mitchell Trubisky and Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett and Duck Hodges getting starts at the quarterback spot. Last year, it was Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. The Steelers have been a top 10 scoring defense each of the previous 3 years in the NFL. They have reached the postseason 2 of those 3. TJ Watt has been a critical reason why. 108 sacks in his 8-year NFL career, $108 million guaranteed. TJ Watt has been a Pro Bowler the last 7 years. He has been a 5-time All-Pro performer, including last season. He has led the NFL, Joe, in sacks 3 of the last 5 seasons, 73.5 in total in this 5-year window, the most of any player around the National Football League. Even last year, not leading the NFL in sacks, he still led the NFL in causing disruptions and chaos. He had the most forced fumbles in the National Football League. TJ Watt, very deserving of this large payday. The only interesting thing, Joe, is that he turns 31 in October. To be 31 years old and the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL speaks to his skill and what he still has left in the tank. But at times you see NFL organizations and franchises, especially around that 30-year mark, get a little bit wary and cautious of spending all the big bucks, even on the players deserving of it because of what they have done in their career.
Yeah, absolutely. So you look at the 3-year deal. Let's assume that he's going to be 34 or even closer to 35 at the end of that. Are they expecting a complete 3 years? That's the hope. But realistically, if you can get a year and a half, 2 full solid seasons to challenge for an AFC championship, that's lightning in a bottle, and it's worth the 123 to make him happy. Not only that, we talk about him being the face of the franchise, him, being the recognizable name, especially when you just look at after Ben Roethlisberger left. I mean, TJ Watt was the face of the franchise. It wasn't a quarterback. It was the defensive side of the ball. And for this team to challenge, they need his leadership. Again, we talk about Mike Tomlin, winning Super Bowls. We get that. He has the ability to take this team to the next level. But again, it comes down to chemistry. Just because you throw these players together doesn't mean they're actually going to, be a cohesive unit with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. And all of a sudden, that's the norm, a 10, 11, 12-win football team. That's all of a sudden going to be the best team in the AFC. That's not always the case. But to have that leadership there, especially with TJ Watt, that's a step in the right direction. Now you can worry about the X's and O's moving forward.
And again, it was expected, right? TJ Watt did miss voluntary OTAs and mandatory minicamp as this contract negotiation did play out. But did the win total change for Pittsburgh after Watt signed? No, it's still 8.5. The under has a slight bit of juice. It's still a plus 140 price for Pittsburgh to make the playoffs. But with TJ Watt there and happy and paid and very, very wealthy, you feel a little bit better about Pittsburgh's outlook moving forward. How about Micah Parsons, another edge rusher? Will he sign a new deal? Next.
4 out of 5 scientists agree it's smarter to be on SportsGrid. And we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin. He just gives that vibe. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Linzess. A federal judge in Texas removed a Biden-era finalized rule by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that would have removed medical debt from credit reports. U.S. District Court Judge Sean Jordan of Texas Eastern District found on Friday that the rule exceeded the CFPB's authority. Jordan said that the CFPB is not permitted to remove medical debt from credit reports according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which protects information collected by consumer reporting agencies. The FDA is allowing vaping brand Juul to keep its e-cigarettes on the market, providing relief to a company that has struggled for years after being widely blamed for sparking the teen vaping trend. FDA regulators said Thursday that Juul's studies show its e-cigarettes are less harmful for adult smokers who can benefit from switching completely to vaping. Juul will be one of only 2 U.S. companies authorized to sell menthol-flavored vapes, which many adults prefer to tobacco flavor. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals. And it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Progressive knows when you're on your boat, you're already on vacation. And Vacation You forgets all your worries. Vacation You doesn't even keep track of time and knows that time is a meaningless construct designed to control us, man. But Regular You knows you don't want to be too far out in the water after the sun goes down because Vacation You doesn't know how to navigate in the dark yet. Vacation You and Regular You really need to get on the same page. So bundle your boat with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
There's something you should know and always remember. SportsGrid does not increase luck. We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck, go find a horseshoe. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle. It is FFC. TJ Watt got paid yesterday, becoming the highest paid non-QB in NFL history. 3 years, $123 million. That is $41 million per year. And Joe, as we near training camp this upcoming week, the Steelers report to camp on Wednesday in Latrobe. The Dallas Cowboys report to camp in Oxnard. That's all the way out in California on Tuesday. And Micah Parsons, another very talented edge rusher, much like TJ Watt, was talking about his contract situation. I promise this is not a Mad Lib. Parsons talking with The Undertaker on The Undertaker's 6 Feet Under podcast and had this to say, quote, "We obviously wanted to get done early. We want that relief. But obviously, ownership is always going to make it drag out, make it more complicated than it has to be," end quote. When you mention ownership in Dallas, you are talking about Jerry Jones. That Joe, despite being a very wealthy man and a good business guy, does not seem to be the most financially flexible when it comes to how he runs his NFL organization. He has a flair for the dramatic and waiting until the 11th hour to then cough up a ton of money to sign his superstar players. One of the reasons, Joe, that I say that is because Micah Parsons is still in his rookie contract. That was TJ Watt's third deal. Micah Parsons entering year number 5 of his rookie deal. That is the 5th and final. Micah Parsons was eligible for an extension last offseason and did not get that from Jerry Jones. So when TJ Watt is now making $41 million per year as the highest paid non-quarterback, and you know that Micah Parsons, who is only 26 years old as compared to Watt at 30, is going to be asking for something of the sort, Jerry Jones now has to meet the market and not set it. He is going to have to cough up multiple millions of dollars more to Micah Parsons. And frankly, Joe, it's a situation that doesn't look overly optimistic just a few days away from the Cowboys heading to California for training camp.
No, it doesn't. But Jerry did this with Dak Prescott and set the market with Dak at $60 million basically right before the season started a couple of years ago. And again, or last year. And when you just look at it as a whole, you know, I don't think the money is the real issue. Meaning, I don't think Jerry's like, you know, we'll set the market if he believes in that. I just think it comes down to, look, I love Micah Parsons. I think he is definitely a game changer. I think he's a wrecking ball coming off the edge. But again, in big games, he's been non-existent. You know, at least you can make the argument, TJ Watt in big games has at least stepped up throughout his career time and time again. And for that organization has been very important in elevating them to at least playoff performances. For Micah Parsons, a young player that really set the landscape when he was a rookie. And now here we are, you know, fast forward to Dallas with only a win total of in the area of about 6 or 7 wins. What are we talking about? You know, is that player going to elevate your team? Now, Myles Garrett is the only player for the Browns that was worth that money, so that's why they gave it to him. It's boom or bust. You need Myles Garrett there. For Dallas, they have Dak. They have CD. They now have George Pickens. The defense needs to take the next step, but again, I think they'll just wait and do the same thing they did with Dak last year. It'll prolong it throughout training camp, and they'll sign him at some point. You know, does it change the needle for the Dallas Cowboys? No, that defense was atrocious last year, and that was with Micah Parsons in it. So, again, we'll see what happens. Do I believe Micah is deserving of the money? Put it this way. If you gave me the money to pay one of those 3 guys, I would take Garrett and I would take TJ Watt over Micah.
See, I don't know if I agree with that assessment. I think all 3 are at least 3 of the 5 best pass rushers and edge rushers in the National Football League. And the biggest difference that Micah Parsons has as compared to making Myles Garrett and TJ Watt the highest paid non-QBs ever. Micah just turned 26. Myles Garrett is 30. TJ Watt is 30. And Watt turns 31 this upcoming October. I mean, when you look at the production for Micah Parsons, even this past year, Joe, only playing in 13 games in a porous and dismal season for Dallas, he still had 12 sacks. He has had at least 12 sacks in all 4 years he has been in the NFL. In his 3 previous fully healthy seasons, the Cowboys had won 12 games and reached the playoffs. In those 3 previous years, Micah Parsons was an AP All-Pro performer. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He is a 2-time AP All-Pro first-team performer and a Pro Bowler all 4 seasons. Micah Parsons not showing up in big games. Dallas hasn't showed up in big games as a team as a whole for the last 30 years. Micah Parsons, to me, is going to reset the market once again. In terms of the finances behind it, I think there's something to what you alluded to, Joe. I think Jerry Jones likes to be known as the guy that spends top dollar on the biggest paydays, on the biggest stars in the NFL. He might want to, in the ego-stroking contest of the dollar bill, want to look at the Rooney family and say, I can go $41.5 million per year and make my guy the highest paid edge rusher. But if you are a sound financial wizard, that's not the best business practice. Because had Jerry Jones, Joe, paid Micah Parsons last offseason when he was eligible, coming off 3 consecutive years, his first 3 in the NFL as an AP All-Pro performer, you could have made Micah Parsons the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL in the history of the league for $35 million. There are now 4 edge rushers in the NFL that make more than $35 million. All 4 of them, Watt, Garrett, Daniil Hunter, and Max Crosby, getting paid at certain stages this offseason. You could have given Micah Parsons his payday, his history as the richest non-QB ever. But if you're going to do that now, you're spending at least $6 million per year more than you would have at this time last offseason.
Yeah, so the 26 years of age is that's what the upside is, right? But Dan Quinn really made Micah Parsons. Was Micah Parsons the same dominant edge rusher without Dan Quinn? Yeah, they're 12 sacks, but if they're coming by the likes of the Giants and some of the other garbage teams, it really doesn't matter, does it?
You don't like Micah Parsons. I figured that out. I think Micah Parsons is pretty darn good and has the accolades to back it up. We'll have more conversations up next on FFC.
There's smart and there's not smart. Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Keep it here and win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1927, Ty Cobb gets hit number 4,000. Cobb holds a Major League Best 366 career average in his 24-year career. Cobb had over 200 hits in 9 seasons and held the all-time hits record with 4,189 until Pete Rose broke the mark in 1985. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
Until now, the only way to deal with pesky mosquitoes, the old-fashioned way. Now, if you dare, buy into a new Hong Kong-based Indiegogo project called Photon Matrix. A paperback-sized AI device uses LiDAR to invisibly scan for mosquitoes up to 20 feet away. And then high-powered lasers can vaporize up to 30 mosquitoes per second. One unfortunate problem, onboard sensors detecting humans in the kill zone means it won't fire. Otherwise, follow me at Capalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Carver and Lisi.
New York Jets 2-1 to make the playoffs. Bye.
Joe, I know you like the I said it. Let me just tell you something. You're going to wish you didn't do all those. Back in that Jet team, that is not a way to get ahead in life. Patrick Mahomes could be the quarterback of the Jets and you sell them. You always sell the Jets.
It's Carver and Lisi with Mike Carver and Joe Lisi. Weekdays 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. There comes a point when the chips are down. To coin a phrase, when the only thing you can do is stop and wait. Do you want to face that moment prepared or rely on luck?
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle, it is FFC. Lisa, guys, some more news yesterday around the National Football League, basically right after we signed off the airwaves here on SportsGrid Radio. Mike Williams, the LA Charger, back with Los Angeles entering 2025, where he spent the first 7 years of his 8-year NFL career. Last year with the Jets and the Steelers, announced his retirement, calling it a career on his football playing days at the age of 30. Not great news, of course, for the Bolts, but Mike Williams, after signing with LA this offseason, really wasn't participating in practices or workouts with the Chargers as he dealt with an undisclosed injury. They placed him on the physically unable to perform list, that PUP list, entering training camp. Of course, the Bolts sent their veterans to camp this past Saturday. Mike Williams wasn't there. Sadly, Joe, he announces his retirement for football after only 8 years in the NFL and at the age of 30.
Yeah, again, Mike Williams was a player that the Jets thought that would help them, and put them over the top. And, the size, the body, the ability to catch the football at its highest point, certainly what he did in his days as a national champion with the Clemson Tigers is what you would expect consistently throughout the NFL. And for, parts of his career, especially with Keenan Allen and the Chargers early, he was that type of player. But injuries got into him. And again, does it affect the LA Chargers, wide receiver core this year? No, because, expecting Mike Williams to be that cherry on top with Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston and some of the younger wide receivers just was never a hope. Realistically, when we look at the Chargers and we say, how are they going to elevate to an AFC championship caliber team? You and I both said there was a glaring weakness at the wideout position. They have maybe a guy in Ladd that could be a 1A or, maybe a definite pure number 2, but expecting Ladd to be Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, we're just kidding ourselves. He's not even anywhere close to being that type of player. You need the complementary piece. Mike Williams, it's a shame, but the injuries got the best of him. Now they have to make a decision. Yeah. How do we elevate the wideout core to get us to compete with the likes of Kansas City and Baltimore? We'll see, because again, I never thought it was a great move by getting him back in camp anyway. You were kept trying to catch lightning in a bottle, which was totally unrealistic at this point in his career.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, Joe. Injuries have plagued Mike Williams the last few years. In his 4 seasons with Justin Herbert, reuniting with Herbert at the quarterback spot, he was one of Justin's favorite targets, but injuries really the issue. And anytime a guy's walking away at 30, you feel bad. The health could not stack up. That's kind of the story around Mike Williams. To your point, Joe, is Mike Williams the difference for LA in the wide receiver room? Probably not by any means. The 7th overall pick in 2017, spent the first 7 years of his NFL career with this Chargers organization. At least he will retire as an LA Charger. One of the guys that can make an impact in that wide receiver room did sign his contract yesterday. Again, the Bolts rookies have been in camp for about a week. They reported on Saturday. The veterans showed up on Wednesday. One of those rookies who did not show up to camp right away was their 2nd-round draft pick, Joe, out of Ole Miss, Trey Harris, big game wide receiver who was great last year before some injuries kind of curtailed 2024. He was a holdout to start training camp, as we have seen with a lot of the 2nd-round picks, as we discussed yesterday. But, Joe, when we were discussing the 2nd-round picks, only 3 of 32 had signed. Now we're at 12 of 32, including Trey Harris, who, of course, is now in camp for LA and will be expected to pay immediate dividends for the Chargers.
Yeah, again, I think he's an upgrade from where Josh Palmer was, right? Josh Palmer, to me, was hot and cold, never lived up to the expectation or the hype coming out of Tennessee. Now he's with Buffalo. We'll see if he can do that. But Trey Harris is a legitimate home run hitter. You got to get him the football. But again, the learning curve, the growing pains, we're expecting him to just hit the ground running like Ladd McConkey, and there you go. You got a 1,000-yard receiver with 80 to 90 receptions in year number 1. Not the case. Figure, Trey Harris for maybe 50 to 60, 700 to 900 yards if on a good, upside, and that would be beneficial to the offense. But again, they're still at a disadvantage at the wideout position with some of the contenders in the AFC.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Trey Harris is going to help. What exactly the terms of his deal are, that remain to be seen. And that's been the interesting situation, Joe, to follow when it comes to these 2nd-round picks signing their rookie contracts. More of that next on FFC.
The The Winning Edge. You've got it. But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us. But we're working on that. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
NBA free agency Damian Lillard has reached a deal to return to the Portland Trail Blazers. He's a 9-time NBA All-Star. It's a 3-year deal worth $42 million. The Steelers have signed T.J. Watt to a 3-year, $123 million contract extension that makes him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams has retired from the NFL after 8 seasons. He ranks 10th on the Chargers franchise receiving yards list with 4,806. He's also 13th in receptions and touchdowns. NFL Players Association Executive Director Lloyd Howell Jr. resigned late Thursday night, ending an embattled 2-year tenure as the leader of the union. In May, it was revealed that the FBI is investigating the financial dealings of the NFLPA and the MLB Players Association related to a multi-billion-dollar group licensing firm, One Team Partners.
Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
This summer with Kohl's, you can rack up the compliments. Like, where'd you get that dress? Tell me all your makeup secrets. Or, ooh, my husband needs that polo in every color. Because Kohl's has what you need. Cute dresses, Sephora essentials, stylish polos, comfy kids clothes, and more. Plus, take 20% off some of your faves. Yup, cue the compliments with Kohl's. Select styles, some exclusions apply. Offer ends July 20th. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora. See store or Kohls.com for details.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
You're listening to SportsGrid, spreading the winning edge far and wide. Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app. Face it, the winning edge is everywhere. Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
So the second-round picks have been an interesting story as we approach the start of training camp in all 32 spots around the NFL. And a lot of teams have already sent their rookies to training camp, 11 teams as of this Friday. Plenty more tomorrow, and of course, everybody by this time next week. Lisi, as we have shared, when it comes to getting drafted in the NFL, first-round picks on the rookie wage scale that dates back to 2013 know exactly based on where they are picked, where they are slotted, how much money they are going to make, and it is all fully guaranteed. That has not always been the same story in terms of fully guaranteed money or second-round selections. But in this day of player agency, as we shared yesterday, players understand how much they are worth, dating back to their days in college of their NIL deals. They already got flushed amounts of money in their bank account, various levels, of course, of that, but they're not walking in broke like they used to be. Joe, as of yesterday, only 3 of 32 second-round picks had signed. As of this moment, make it 12 of 32. We mentioned Trey Harris ending his early holdout with the Chargers, reporting to camp yesterday. Another big one, pick number 35 overall. That would be the 3rd overall pick in round number 2. Nick Emmanwori, the safety out of South Carolina, signing a fully guaranteed contract with the Seattle Seahawks. So that 4-year deal worth more than $10 million in total, now fully guaranteed. Emmanwori, like Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver of the Texans, drafted directly before him, both getting fully guaranteed contracts, Joe. The first time that picks 34 or 35 have ever had fully guaranteed rookie deals in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, and it's good, right, for rookies coming in to have those fully guaranteed contracts. You mentioned Jaden Higgins and some of the second rounders, right? That's what you want to see if you're coming out of college. You want to get that guaranteed money, you know, in case anything happens from an injury perspective. And we see Harris coming on with the LA Chargers. The problem, and we discussed this yesterday to some capacity, is yes, guaranteed money, but at some point there's got to be a give and take on both sides. understand what the players want. They're making more in college. Some of them are making considerably more as it relates to NIL than the NFL. Unless you're a star in the NFL, right? The brand recognition really comes at the college level, especially if you're a starter and a key contributor to a major program. It's going to come down, though, does it eke into the third round? And I told you this, and I understand, hey, teams could say, just move on. But it is going to cause a disruption in the process about how teams view talent and how teams view their legal and agent representation, right? Because if you don't have a player that's completely bought in and an agent that just wants to hold out and say, we want to set a precedent. Well, now I understand that, but you're holding up the whole process and potentially hurting your client's value and hurting the team moving forward. I don't think NFL organizations want to deal with this in a long-term perspective, Ben.
Yeah, and it's a really good point, Lazy Guy. It was what we discussed really in large yesterday. Where do you start to see the leverage battles start to give out for the players, right? First-round picks understand they are getting fully guaranteed contracts. It's what makes Shamar Stewart's situation in Cincinnati really perplexing. They're not arguing over a couple of $1 million or cents or whatever it is. It is a 4-year deal with a 5th-year team option that they can pick up after your 3rd year before year number 4. You know exactly how much money you are making. It is fully guaranteed. Shamar Stewart's issue with Cincy is the Bengals trying to include a default clause in the contract for him that was not there for their 2 previous first-round picks. The second-rounders, though, have not always been gifted or guaranteed all of their money. So for them now fighting for that, some are getting it. Some, I guess, are still outstanding. We only have 12 of 32, fewer than half of our second-round picks signed. Another one, though, signing yesterday, Lisa Guy, is TJ Sanders for the Buffalo Bills. 4-year, $10.64 million deal with more than $10 million of that fully guaranteed. Again, you are seeing a guy sign his contract. We know what the overall value is estimated to be, but 95% of it is now fully guaranteed. TJ Sanders, the D lineman out of South Carolina, has signed his deal with Buffalo. We are starting to see more and more and more second-round rookies start to sign those deals, Joe, as we get closer to training camp coming our way. 3 teams today sending the rookies to camp. We've got about 4 or 5 more tomorrow. And again, by the time we get to Wednesday next week, all 32 NFL teams, rookies and vets, will be fully in training camp.
Yeah, and that's, again, when we assess value and we assess teams, right, and we say team needs, it's not just the first-round selections in the draft that really elevate whether we make these, bets or gamble from the odds perspective. It's the second, the third round selections that really formulate and really just make out the unit, whether offensively or defensively. And when we talk about the second, round draft picks, Jaden Higgins and Noel coming out of Iowa State, they have an ability right now to be key contributors for their respective team. And that's exactly what you want to see. The fact that you get the younger players in camp is very important. I don't believe the one position, and I'll just say this, the one position I believe that isn't so much, a need to get them in is running back. Again, we've seen plug-and-play guys. You could scrape guys off the street like Kareem Hunt, and all of a sudden at the running back position, they're productive. Again, it's the wide receivers, understanding how to read coverage, quarterbacks, obviously offensive linemen, to gel with a unit. Those are the most important. And on the defensive side of the ball, edge rushers and understanding the scheme about what your responsibility is, like Shamar Stewart, that is important for you to get a jump on so you can make the money in years 3 and 4.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Joe, right? It's about your leverage. It's about your agency, but you still want to compete and play football, and you want to start cashing those checks, even if you have received some checks through your time throughout college via NIL funds. There's no doubt about it. I do wonder, though, running backs, of course, have become more and more of a commodity. A couple of our running backs who were drafted early in the second round, Quinshon Judkins, of course, dealing with his own issues off the field, remains unsigned. Travion Henderson of the New England Patriots remains unsigned at this moment. As we near camp even more so, that leverage battle starts to intensify of who signs those deals early on. It'll be something that we follow throughout the weekend and when we return on Monday to Football Full Circle. All right, Lazy Guy, outside of that, not much NFL news at the moment. I'm sure we'll get some on this Friday. Yesterday ended our 4-day extravaganza of SEC Media Days in continued conversation around what is the right format if we expand, when we expand to the college football playoff. Joe, we were led to believe that even before the 12-team era started last season, and certainly entering the second year of it in 2025, it would probably be the second and final of a 12-team CFP as we were getting ready for 16 schools next year. Now that's seeming more and more unlikely, at least at this moment, as the 2025 season looms. Why? The big two in the Power Four are on opposite ends. Once on the same side of the 4-4-2-2-1 model, 4 automatic bids for both the Big Ten and the SEC, 2 automatic berths for both the ACC and the Big 12, and the 1 automatic bid for the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion with 3 at-large spots to fill out that 16-team field. Joe, the Big Ten still in favor of that model, but the SEC more in favor of the 5+11. We will discuss which one does Lisi like more, if either of those two options, and why we are at opposite ends at this moment. He's feeling good. Look at him doing the fist pumps here today. An incline bench press coming your way later on SportsGrid. More on FFC next.
We're not saying every SportsGrid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie. Just saying. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Linzess. A federal judge in Texas removed a Biden-era finalized rule by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that would have removed medical debt from credit reports. U.S. District Court Judge Sean Jordan of Texas Eastern District found on Friday that the rule exceeded the CFPB's authority. Jordan said that the CFPB is not permitted to remove medical debt from credit reports according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which protects information collected by consumer reporting agencies. The FDA is allowing vaping brand Juul to keep its e-cigarettes on the market, providing relief to a company that has struggled for years after being widely blamed for sparking the teen vaping trend. FDA regulators said Thursday that Juul's studies show its e-cigarettes are less harmful for adult smokers who can benefit from switching completely to vaping. Juul will be one of only 2 U.S. companies authorized to sell menthol-flavored vapes, which many adults prefer to tobacco flavor. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Remember when you were thankful you could just get AM and FM? Things have progressed. Now even an app on your phone can give you a 21st century thrill with that little drop of heaven called the deposit notification. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on FFC, the end of SEC Media Days and the 4-day extravaganza yesterday in Atlanta. But the end of the conversation, Joe, around the expansion of the college football playoff, that will continue, it seems. Big Ten and ACC Media Days next week. We'll also talk some Mountain West football. They had their Media Days this week in Las Vegas as well. And one of the main themes, Joe, for everybody to answer around Atlanta this week was, what version of the college football playoff do you want to see? We talked about Eli Drinkwitz and his 30-team proposal. That's still probably pretty far off and unlikely, but it seemed that starting, not this upcoming season, but in 2026, we were going to expand to 16 teams. But what model would it be? 4-4-2-2-1 or 5+11? Now, as reported, Joe, by Brett McMurphy of On3, the Big Ten is remaining adamant that the 4-4-2-2-1 model, 4 auto bids for the Big Ten and the SEC, 2 apiece for the ACC and the Big 12, and the one being the highest ranked Group of 5 champ, as well as 3 at-large bids, is their preferred model. It is what they are sticking to come hell or high water. The SEC has changed its stance from the 4-4-2-2-1 to now the 5+11. The 5 highest ranked conference champs, 11 at-large berths, basically like we are seeing now in the 12-team era, where we have the 5 highest ranked conference champs, but 4 less schools making the college football playoffs, so only 7 at-large bids. Lisa, I know you are not a champion of expansion, but if you were to pick between these 2 formats, which do you think is best?
I sort of think that, just looking back, I think that the 5 and 11, if we're going to expand to 16 teams, which is absolutely crazy to me. Okay. That's the biggest thing. But if we did the 5 with the highest ranked 11 teams, I would respect that, as opposed to giving cookie cutter, just slots to the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, and Big 12. Now, do I believe those are the best conferences? Yes. But, the part of the problem, you see, and I keep going back to last year, coaches like Lane Kiffin and some of the others lobbied for this. Oh, we play the SEC schedule. Hey, Lane, you're getting $10 million. You had a first-round draft pick in Jackson Dart. You had the opportunity to seal your fate by beating Florida in the swamp. And guess what? Your starting quarterback threw 2 picks, and you lost that game basically as a double-digit favorite. That's on you. That's on nobody else. To then reward you because you didn't step up on the field and say we give you a solidified spot because you play in the SEC is absolutely ridiculous to me. Right. And that is the problem that I have with expansion. Now with the 16 and hearing Drinkwitz with the 30, and now we're going to talk about, former, God rest in peace, Mike Leach, that performed, or proposed a 64 team playoff. He only proposed that because Miss State was never going to go to a college football playoff. Let's be honest. They're not doing it with Jeff Levy. They didn't do it with Jackie Sherrill, and they're certainly not doing it in the future. If they couldn't do it with Nikki Fitzgerald at the helm, there's no way. So 64 was the only way they're going in. I mean, give me a break. I can't take it anymore.
I did not appreciate the comparison to Mike Leach made by Brett McMurphy or made by Eli Drinkwitz in his suggestion of it. Mike Leach suggested 64 because he was making fun of a committee. He basically was like, what good is a committee? They don't know football. They're not out here grinding each and every time. If we want to actually think that games matter most and take it out of a boardroom, let's make it a 64-team playoff. I do not think in earnest Mike Leach was asking for a 64-team college football playoff, just for that to be said, which is one of the reasons, Joe, that on paper, you look at it and you say, yeah, 5+11 makes the most sense. You earn it on the football field. You are not gifted automatic bids. But Joe, whether it's been 4 teams or 12 teams, I have had, and many people have had, such issue with the committee each and every year because there is not a standard set of criteria. Week to week, they change what is most important. Head-to-head matchups, strength of schedule. There is not a scheduling balance we will ever have as long as we have 9 or 10 FBS conferences. And one of the reasons the Big Ten is being pretty stringent, on what they want their format to look like is because the Big Ten has said, we're not going to change our stance unless the SEC plays 8 conference games, we play 9. Whether you agree with that or not, that is what the Big Ten is holding on to. We don't even have the same amount of conference games. We don't have the same scheduling principles week in, week out. So when you hear people tout strength of schedule for the SEC, but not there in the ACC, it is never going to be the same in terms of strength of schedule. It is never going to happen, which is why, Joe, when the committee highlights strength of schedule, I laugh at times. It doesn't seem to be an earnest trick or necessarily the be-all, end-all when it comes to a resume. If you wanted to use a computer algorithm or process like we had in the BCS era, but now with an expanded field where we know exactly what that input and output is going to look like, then I would hear you. But trusting a committee to get it right, when we are trusting them even more as we expand to 16 teams to make the correct decisions and not just heavily skew it to the Big Ten and the SEC, that's my issue. So almost, Joe, sometimes I think to myself, the 4-4-2-2-1 model, although I hate the idea of automatic bids because it does not feel like earning it on the playing surface, might actually be more about earning it on the playing surface than that of a committee. If, in what is proposed for the 4-4-2-2-1 model, is the idea of basically conference playoff games to end out the year, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, to earn those auto bids out of a conference, 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3, instead of our traditional conference championship games in both the ACC and the Big 12. We'll wrap up that conversation next, and then we'll talk about the Mountain West on the other side of the break before we send you into the weekend here on Football Full Circle.
Luck is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channel dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and SiriusXM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
It's stark but true. You can either listen to SportsGrid for strategies, odds, and more, or you can pay your bills by digging in your couch cushions for change. Just be sure to wear gloves. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
So we have given you our thoughts on potential college football playoff expansion, not for this upcoming year, but 2026. And it should be a reminder, Joe, that in 2025, for sure, it is 12 teams, a slightly different format, Still 5+7, the 5 highest ranked conference champs earning an automatic bid in 7 at-large spots. But once those 12 spots are filled in the field, it's just based off the rankings, a straight seeding model, no automatic opening round buys, only for the 4 highest ranked conference champs. And there is a chance, I guess, the 12-team era survives into 2026. It should be noted as well that when you go around the country and who's in favor of what model for a potential 16-team CFP, Big Ten is kind of on an island. It's the only one right now that is really stacking up behind the 4-4-2-2-1. The SEC now more in favor of 5+11. The ACC and Big 12 have given their support to 5+11. And Conference Commissioner of the Mountain West, Gloria Narvaez, has said, Joe, the Mountain West is fully in favor of 5+11 and hates the idea of the 4-4-2-2-1 as well. So the Big Ten kind of on its own.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Ten wants that because, again, they're guaranteed certain spots, and outside of maybe the Big Three, or now we can add in Oregon in there, the Big Four, that those are the only 4 teams that compete. If USC was at a prominent level, and some of the others, maybe, they wouldn't be as apt to say, they want the structure, right? They would be in favor of the 5+11, knowing that those teams potentially would be in the top 10 each and every season. It just comes down to all this is money. That's the problem, is that these conferences just want to solidify the bag of cash for their respective programs, make sure they get the brand recognition, and just keep that money train moving. It's not about the product on the field. It really isn't. Because if they cared about the product on the field, they would make it competitive. We wouldn't have expanded to 12. We would have kept it maybe at 8, and we would have given maybe 2 guaranteed spots to the group of 5 schools and say, you know what, best man win and best team win, and let's see how it plays out. But we don't do that anymore. And again, when it comes down to the actual committee, they need a point structure. I'll say it again. We can't go into the guesswork. One year, Georgia is the team because they have out-of-conference wins, and then the same year in a similar type of situation, we don't recognize a group of 5 team or a team from the ACC. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you beat a top 5 opponent, it should be either 2 or 3 points. You beat a top 10 opponent, 1 point or whatever, and let's go to that type of model and see what we get at the end of the regular season.
Or at least some consistency in knowing the criteria each and every year from the mind of the selection committee, which we don't. As the 13-person panel changes every year, again, it's not the greatest structure, but we still love this sport. Joe, speaking of the college football playoff, Boise State was the representative, of course, of the Mountain West and the group of 5 in the first ever 12-team college football playoff. And Boise State is expected to be there once again. The Broncos picked to win either a division in the Mountain West or the overall conference in the preseason poll for a remarkable 18th consecutive season. Boise State has won the Mountain West 2 consecutive years now, and last year did so impressively, perfect within conference play. The Broncos are minus 130, not only as the preseason poll pick, but as the preseason favorite, Joe, and a minus money 1 at that to win the conference crown once again.
Yeah, but I'm not going there. And I understand with Maddox, Madsen, and they're deserving of their performance last year getting there. But how about Dan Mullen's schedule with UNLV? You talk about the type of players that they open Idaho State, Sam Houston, Nico and UCLA in their house, in their building, Miami of Ohio, Wyoming, and Air Force. You go through their schedule, I think they're even money to potentially, maybe be over their win total. They could be a 10 or an 11 win football team, and they could be the contender to maybe knock down that college football playoff door. So for the Mountain West, give me the Rebels, baby.
I'm already excited, Joe, about that game Saturday, October 18th on the Smurf turf in Boise, Idaho against the Broncos. Much like last year in that critical game on a Friday in Las Vegas, it could be the one that decides who wins the Mountain West and who represents the group of 5 in the college football playoff. We will talk so much college football next week and NFL news as training camp begins. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday on Football Full Circle.
Now you've done it. You found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.